we have a really good agenda for you. I think that you'll enjoy. Let me just lay out how it's going to go. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Map Gallery winner, which we'll get to shortly, and then we're going to present the Luminary Award for 2025. And then at 9:15 to 10:15, we got a special treat for you. We've flown in some state leaders in geospatial from around the state, from around the country here, and we're going to have a little panel session. I think it's really important that you hear how other states do their business from a geospatial standpoint, and how we actually learn from each other. And this is part of NSGIC that you've heard me talk about before, National States Geographic Information Council. And I think a lot of those things that come out of this national view of geospatial tends to drive a lot of what we do here in Texas. And hopefully Texas can help initiate some things that move stuff forward. So we thought this would be kind of a really cool way, just so you're not always hearing from me, you're hearing from other leaders from their states on some of their ideas and thoughts and how they may work and what's going well in their state and maybe what's not going so well. So anyway, stay tuned for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. The Texas Geographic Data Technology Initiatives, we're going to kind of go through that. We're going to let you know what we've been up to. We got some things we do want to update you on, some of them pretty quick, but some of them I've got a little presentation that I want to show you. And then, of course, we're going to do the strategic mapping program and what we've been up to there. So I think we've got a really great show. It's pretty similar to what you've seen if you've been here before. First of all, who is first time at a community meeting? Is there anybody the first time? Okay, welcome. Thank you, guys. If you don't know me, my name is Richard Wade. I'm the Geographic Information Officer for the state of Texas. I serve as the Deputy Executive Administrator at the Water Board and oversee the Tex GIO Division, formerly TENRIS. So I just wanted to welcome you here. Who here is here for this meeting but did not attend the forum? Okay, thank y'all for coming, and that's, I think, important to know that this is not related to the forum. We just do it at the end because most people are already here and they're traveled, and we'd like to have you here. So, and then at the end, this is our time to listen for you. Okay, right? We're going to want to know what y'all are thinking, what's working well from the data that you've been experiencing from us, and what it is we probably still need to be working on. And so we got 45 minutes locked in for that, and really hope for a really good discussion. Before I move on anywhere, Gayla, is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, just a couple more logistics. If you haven't signed in on the iPad or the computer out in front of the room, please be sure to do that at any time throughout the morning. And also, as you can see, we don't have breaks designed in our program this morning. This is somewhat casual, so feel free to get up and do what you need to do. If you need to leave the room for a minute and come back, that's totally acceptable. And if you want to come down closer, you can come get a little closer to us if you like. And this is meant to be engaging, so we're excited again that you're here.
And if you do need to leave the room, you need to stand up and explain why you're leaving.
Hopefully to get us more coffee or something.
Yeah. In case we need you to get something on the way back. No. But yeah, again, thank you. Welcome. And we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. And I can't remember any of the order of this slide, so let's just see what we got next. Okay, Digital Map Gallery winner, Weatherly Sawyer. Are you here, by the way? Oh, awesome. Congratulations. Beautiful map. What else do we need to?
Bragging rights is the prize.
Bragging rights. And
thank you to everybody that submitted for the map gallery if you're here, and hopefully you got to see our new 2 digital whiteboards out there this year. We're interested in your feedback and if you like that or not and how the voting went. This was our first time to do that setup, so we're looking to hopefully expand that in the future.
Yeah, and it allows us to showcase apps too, so it isn't just static maps. It can be applications and so forth. So, yeah, we're pretty excited about that. Yes? That's ours. Yeah, we brought those from our office. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely let us know in the feedback what you thought about that. All right, moving forward, I want to give the Luminary Award So if you don't know what the Luminary Award is, there's a definition here. A person who inspires or influences others, especially in a particular sphere. Okay, so we've only done one Luminary Award. That was last year to Claire Devon from USGS. We don't do enough necessarily to showcase the talent and the people who have really helped GIS push forward. And I think we changed that last year, and we're going to be doing this award every year for just those individuals that made a difference in either the community, in the forward progress of GIS in general, just whatever it might be. And we take this real serious. This year we actually had a committee that met and discussed what we were going to do and made a decision on this. We had submissions of people who submitted who they felt like should deserve the Luminary Award. We had descriptions and reasons that they needed to fill out to say, why do you believe this person deserves that award? And this year, I'm very, very proud to present the Luminary Award to Scott Friedman. I have to feel like Scott had to know this since I was bugging him, like, you're coming Friday, right? You're coming Friday. Yeah, absolutely. But before he come up, Scott and I go way back, right? So Scott and I were interns. Scott was an intern for me in 1991. 18. Yeah. This is a picture that was taken of us. I've mentioned this before. Scott and I, when he started working as an intern for us, we were working on what was a Balcones something or other. I don't even remember. We laughed the whole time. We never worked. Half the time we were troubleshooting the computer or the plotter why it wouldn't function, but we laughed like you would not believe, and it was so much fun. And then, Scott left, and I got real sad, and I left the state, and it was all that kind of stuff. But Scott has always been kind of a key member. I don't think people know this, but GLO was the initiator of the strategic mapping program. I don't know if y'all know that. GLO had an amazing GIS system that was superior than anybody else's in the state, including ours. They were using, the latest in Unix technology. I forget what the systems were, but it was amazing. But Mirdad Mousavi, if you remember, if that name rings a bell to anybody, is the one that said we need to do a statewide acquisition of imagery and pull us all together, and they were the initiators of the whole thing. GLO's program is second to none. It's something that we've strived to learn from and get better at our support for the state simply because of what GLO did. Scott took that over and just kept running with it. And I do want to just kind of say, too, that part of this program meant, or a part of this kind of requirement is somebody who's unselfish to their own needs. Scott served on the GIS Solution Group, which means that, he would look at things that were good for the state, not just good for GLO. They've contributed funding and financing that continued to push our Texas Imagery Service. If it wasn't for their contributions, we may not have that program in place. Also, too, was willing to go and try to request funding for just programs that didn't necessarily affect GLO, but was for the good of the state. And I think right there, that kind of defines what this award is all about. And then Scott and I kept in touch, and we did some fun things together. Like when we did all our videos for the previous forums. I'm going to embarrass you on this, right? So if you haven't seen early videos of us promoting the Texas GIS Forum, go to our YouTube page and just look up, forum videos or something like that. And all these things show up, and Scott was dressed up in character, and we got makeup artists to, make them up, and I still chuckle and laugh every time I see them. So he helped us write them, he helped us do them, he starred in them, so they were just hilarious. So with that, I would like Scott to, let me just make sure I don't have another slide. Whoop, nope, don't have another, you didn't see that. Huh? Yeah, he can be in character. Scott, would you come up, please, so I can present you your award? come to you, sir. No, you don't. You come up. They need to see you.
Why?
Yeah.
That's from 2008, I think.
It looks like it was taken yesterday. So I actually put the inscription of the award on the slide. This is exactly what this award says. Nice, beautiful glass award. It's going to be consistent across every year. It will be this exact award. But Scott, thank you Yeah, you have to get it. You have to scratch your name off and put somebody else's name on there. But from the bottom of our hearts, as I speak for the community, thank you for everything that you've done and helped us move GIS forward. So here is your award. Thank you for everything.
I don't know what to say. I mean, I should thank the members of the Academy and my agent. But seriously, I mean, all the incredible folks at TextGIO, formerly Tenris, that I've worked with over the years has been phenomenal. But especially Richard, who I think we laughed so much back then because of all the drugs. But no, but he may. Oh, sorry. But my career would certainly not be what it is without Richard, who I started with as a grad student intern. Ultimately, and the most incredible thing has been the team that I've been fortunate and humbled and honored to have worked with all these years. Jeff, Daniel, Jimmy, Kelsey, Thomas, Mark, and then before them, Alex, Sterling, Bob, Brennan. So I don't know what else to say, but and also to wonderful Felicia, who we all miss. But thank you all very much. I'm truly honored and humbled and embarrassed and.
Amazing work.
Good morning, everybody. I am Joey Thomas. I'm the Strategic Mapping Program Manager. I'm going to talk a little bit about our StratMap contracts, and we're currently coming to the end of our last session of those contracts, our last iteration of them, and we'll be starting a new one in the future shortly in 2026. And then talk a little bit about our core data set layers for the state of Texas, being the orthoimagery, elevation, hydrography, land parcel, address point, and land cover. So for anybody that's not really familiar with the StratMap program, it is our goal to maintain authoritative and trusted statewide geospatial data sets for Texas. So we do that by acquiring new geospatial data sets. We maintain, update, and improve current data sets. Oh, okay. And then we also derive newer data sets from those existing data sets as well. We also try to define common mapping standards to ensure there's consistency across the state. Texas is a big place. A lot of people get a lot of different types of data, so having those data sets work as you move across political boundaries is really important. And then we also attract partnerships for funding mechanisms and also understanding really what the community needs and what data sets are of the highest value that we should be focusing on to provide for the state. I am pleased to admit that we do continue to grow. We added a bathymetry specialist position last year, and then this year we also secured additional funding. So now for the next biennium, FY 26-27, we were actually able to get $14 million for the StratMap program. So we're very excited about that. And really excited about the data that we'll be able to bring and provide for the state moving forward. We've seen increased partnerships. We've increased the types of data that we've been producing as well. We have a number of new data sets that we're going to be producing moving forward. And then some of our program goals are just to continue that data maintenance for the state, continue to provide partnership opportunities, develop new data sets. We also would like to have a projects page on our next iteration of our website that we'll be working on in the coming year. And then that'll show what StratMap projects are ongoing, where we're getting data, what types of data we're getting, and then when that data will become available. And then we also are very interested in getting some more feedback opportunities from the community so we can really understand from the local to the regional level what data sets are important or what enhancements to existing data we should be pursuing. And so the program has been very successful in getting partnerships and doing collaborations across the state. We've partnered with over 80 different types of agencies throughout the years. We currently have 39 agencies that participate with us on the Texas Imagery Service, which I'll touch on a little later. And then we also have had over 285 different agencies contribute data to the StratMap program to make that data available to the public through our data hub. And one of the ways that we facilitate those cooperative type partnerships is through our DIR contracts, or our StratMap contracts we call them. They are the GIS services, software, hardware, and survey cooperative contracts that are held by the Department of Information Resources that we help administer for the state. And these are a great resource for the state of Texas and other states too. These contracts can actually be utilized by other state, local governments, and we have seen that has started to become a little more commonplace in the last couple of years. So they really help lower costs. They ensure high quality services through pre-approved vendors, and their services are pre-approved and include discounts through DIR. And the biggest factor is it saves a ton of time. When we used to do this without these contracts, and you'd have to funnel money and go through all these steps, and this really cuts it out and helps you kind of buy an off-the-shelf service where all you have to do is have a statement of work that's approved, and then you issue them PO underneath their DIR contract. So it's a huge time saver. It'll cut a year off the process to get a contract and have it reviewed by legal and go through all the red tape to get that stuff underway. This is a great resource to use to avoid a lot of that. We are in our third iteration of the contract, our Generation 3, which ran from 2021 to 2026. And we're in the process of initiating new contracts with vendors that applied this past year to a DIR RFO, requesting new vendors for the contract, and they are currently in negotiation and evaluation phase for those. So we're hopeful that we'll start seeing a new vendor pool being populated by the end of the year, and then into the next year we'll see more vendors coming online, we hope. So just to give you an idea of some of the vendors that we've been working with in this last generation, here are the current vendors. Some of these contracts will continue to be valid into the 2026 year. So there are some that are getting close to coming to an end around the end of the year time frame. So there's still time to utilize their contracts, and you should definitely check them out. And you can see what services and other things they offer through our StratMap contract page. You can click on their DIR contract and then go check out their pricing index, and it'll show you all the services and software and discounts that they may offer. So to give you an idea of how the contracts did over the last year, this is a big year for GIS in Texas. So there was over $28 million invested in GIS through hardware, software, and services. The biggest acquisition purchasers were through the state agencies and local governments. We had 39 state agencies that utilized the contract for an investment of around $15 million. And then we also had over 690 local government agencies that utilized the contract for over $12 million. So this is a great continuing to improve, and we really enjoy seeing that there is a continued investment in GIS for the state. So over the past 5 years, to give you an idea, the contract started off a little slow. I think we had 112 unique purchasers in the first year, and this last year we had over 750 unique agencies that were utilizing the contract. And over the past 5 years, we've done over $80 million in investment for GIS. So we're really excited to see these numbers, and we're really looking forward to continued investment, which will continue to bring high quality data and services to the state of Texas. To give you an idea of who's using the contract, here's a little heat map I made for the purchasers. And as you can see, there are some areas outside of Texas, so we're starting to see some adoption and use of the contract in Arkansas, It looks like there were some in Wisconsin, in Iowa, California, Washington. And then I also heard the other day that maybe this hasn't made it into the numbers yet, but there are some people in Colorado that were utilizing the contract as well. So we're always glad to see that other states who might not have this type of resource can utilize ours and get a good data product for their state. So another one of our cooperative programs that we have initiated for Texas is our Texas Imagery Service program. So this is a 6-inch pixel resolution statewide data set that's available to any state of Texas entity and anybody who's under contract with them that would need to utilize the data. This is hands down the most affordable way to get orthoimagery in the state for your area. We have different tiers of pricing. This is a subscription-based service that was served out through WMTS and WMS links, but we have different tiers for different types of agencies. So we have local, we have regional, we have state agency. And this is a very affordable and quick way to get your orthoimagery. We also have imagery that goes in the service that goes back to 2011 for statewide data sets. And this is collected every other year. So what we try to do is on years where NAEP collects, we try to come in the next year and get a collection there so we can try to have consistent statewide imagery every single year in the state of Texas. And so there are free trials for this, and it is prorated if you join it and stuff. So if you're interested in this, you can go to the Texas Imagery Service link and check that out and try it out and see if it is going to be a fit for you. Additionally, as part of the Texas Imagery Service, we have Texas Imagery Service Plus, which is a set number of services that are Sanborn, who's our Texas Imagery Service provider at the moment. They have set prices for certain types of acquisitions. So if you want to do an additional acquisition, you can go in and see exactly how much that's going to cost and see. And these are heavily discounted services and acquisition prices that are of great value to existing Texas Imagery Service members. You can also get imagery derived products through this contract, and it basically allows you to skip a lot of the procurement steps, and because you're a Texas Imagery Service member, you don't have to go through a bid process. You can just utilize this contract and go straight to the vendor and get it awarded. Especially if you're in a time crunch or end of year funds or something like that, this would be a great way to invest that money into getting new data sets for your area. If you have any questions about that, feel free to contact Lauren Kirk and she can give you all the information. I see a question down here.
I was just curious if the Service Plus deliverables are those subscriptions as well, or is that?
No, those would be like they would be the standard deliverables for like if you wanted to get like JP2s or TIFFs or something like that, you can go through this avenue to acquire those data sets. So, or get a geodatabase of impervious cover, things like that. So, yeah, they would be like a standard deliverables from a geospatial acquisition. We also have a large amount of orthoimagery that is available for free to download through our data hub. We currently have over 90 collections. Most of them are statewide or large regional collections. We get a lot of collections from various county or COGs in the area or regional groups that are willing to contribute data to make it more publicly accessible, and we are always willing to throw it up there to make it free for everyone. And so one of the things that we started doing this last year with our orthoimagery, our statewide Texas Imagery Service imagery, is generating 1 meter land cover land use data sets for the entire state of Texas. So this was a great new initiative that we kicked off this spring and something we're really excited for. The use cases for this data are huge. There are so many people who have said they are so excited for this data. It can be used for so many things. And we're really looking forward to seeing it get used. We do anticipate that probably late summer next year we'll have it available, and we will be pushing it out through our data hub as well. And I believe that we'll also potentially be having it in as a service through our Texas Imagery Service. For any members who want to utilize it as a service, it'll be in the Texas Imagery Service as well. To give you an idea of the classifications for this data set, so here we did do a pilot of a 1 meter land cover with NOAA a few years ago. And so the classifications you see here are similar to that, the NOAA CCAP 1 meter land cover, but we have kind of tooled them a little more based on input we got from our GIS solutions group to ensure that, you know, the most valuable classifications would be incorporated. So another major effort that we undertook about beginning in 2009 timeframe is LiDAR data for Texas. So we currently have over 86 LiDAR collections on the data hub that are completely free to download. All of the data that's available you can download either through the data hub, or you can utilize our bulk download application to download entire collections, so you don't have to do a bunch of clicking. But you can get the point cloud. We also generate 2-foot and 5-foot hypsography or contours. We have digital elevation models. We have hydrographic break lines, tile indexes for all of them, and then the supplemental reports, which are QAQC reports, flight reports, and all that information. Extraneous metadata that might be beneficial for any of the purposes that you might need. Most of the LiDAR in the state of Texas is split between the USGS collections and the Strategic Mapping Program collections. All of our data sets meet QL2 standards, but we additionally enhance our data, so we have additional classifications for low, medium, and high vegetation, buildings and culverts, and then we have kind of more strenuous collection requirements. For break lines, we collect break lines that are half the size of the USGS requirement. So we do have some upcoming data, LiDAR data releases in the state of Texas. The first one is a 2024 USGS in cooperation with HGAC, the Houston Galveston Area Council, that they collected in 2024. We're hoping that that will be available probably spring of 2026. It's kind of just going to depend on the USGS and when they can get it through their QAQC process. But that'll be a great new data set for the state of Texas. And I think if anybody absolutely needs that data now, they can actually go to HGAC and they have a preliminary data set that could be utilized if you're interested. We also have, oh yeah, here we go. We also have 2 other collections that were collected this past winter. So we collected the Littles, Middle, and Lower Brazos Huck 6 basins, which was over 22,000 square miles earlier this year. And then we're also including 2D and 3D building footprints with those data sets, which is something we're happy to say that will be something we continue to do in the coming years for any of our LiDAR acquisitions. We will be adding building footprints to those data acquisitions. And then also there is a USGS collection that was for various kind of small pocket areas. I don't know if there's a, yeah, there you go. So it was like here, and then this up here, and out here. Those are collections that were from the USGS to kind of continue to maintain QL2 quality in the state of Texas. And we also are happy to announce we have initiated our efforts for the 2026 winter season that we'll be collecting this upcoming winter leaf-off season. And as I said earlier, we did get additional funding this year, and so we're happy to announce we will be collecting these very large areas, these Huck 6 boundary data sets for the state of Texas. So there is the South Central, which is this big project down here. That is over 15,000 square miles. And then we have the East Texas Hucks being the Neches Lower Trinity basins that we'll be collecting as well. And we potentially, there's one of these Huck 6s that dips into Louisiana, and we have been coordinating with them, and we are hopeful that if they have funding, then they'll be able to partner with us so we can get that entire Huck 6, and we don't have to cut it off at the state boundary. So, yeah, in total, it's just about 40,000 square miles. So this will be the largest winter season LiDAR acquisition we've ever done for the StratMap program. So again, we're very excited for that and happy to be bringing these Huck 6-based LiDAR projects for the state of Texas. To give you an idea about our base specification, these are leaf-off acquisitions, and then moving forward, any of the LiDAR acquisitions we do will be full Huck 6 boundaries. Part of that reasoning is we'd like to pursue elevation-derived hydrography data sets in the future, but especially for flood modeling and those sorts of things, we got a lot of feedback that, you know, a lot of the LiDAR data was based on political boundaries of who was participating in it. And so whenever they were doing baseline engineering and developing new flood maps, you'd have data sets that were 3 or 4 year difference. The break lines didn't match up. And there were just a lot of issues with trying to fit the data together. So we figured this would be an easy solution to fix a lot of those issues. And so any of the new modeling will be for a single timestamp, and it won't have any of that previous issues with mismatch. We are always looking for partnership opportunities. As I said earlier, we did get additional funding, but of course we are. Texas is very big. Even with this level of funding, even if we collected that amount of data for the state of Texas every year, we would still not be able to meet the 5-year refresh cycle. So we do need partnerships for acquisitions. Additionally, you know, if you're interested in a buy-up of, you know, density or that sort of thing, we are always open to that. If you see we're doing a collection, or you're interested in where we might be doing a collection, or you have funding to contribute, you know, we have no issue potentially prioritizing other Hucks over other ones if we have funding partners in those areas. We're always happy to do buy-ups. We work a lot with Texas Parks and Wildlife. They like to do buy-ups over their areas. And then municipalities will often like to do a buy-up as well. So we're always open to that, and it's an easy process. And these projects are managed entirely by the Strategic Mapping Program team. So we're always willing to help out. Yeah, and so just to give you an idea, if we continue to work on this 5-year cycle, here's currently what it looks like for the state of Texas. So as you can see, there is a lot of the state left. So we definitely need partnerships, and if you're ever interested, please reach out to the StratMap program, either myself or Ellen St. Romain. Another one of the initiatives that we've been working hard on over the past few years is bathymetry data. So we started collecting bathymetry data in 2021. In 2022, we worked with the Texas Integrated Flooding Framework on a bathymetry workshop so we could define some priority areas for the state. So we got input from various local, federal, and state government agencies to define those areas where they really needed new bathymetry data along the Texas coast. And so we've been working towards that over the last several years. Happy to say we've gotten over 40% of them so far. And we just got delivery of the Matagorda Bay and Trinity Bay collections this past week. So we are excited to be making those available on the Data Hub, hopefully by the end of the month. These data sets we do contribute to NOAA. So we do, I believe that the Houston Ship Channel and the San Jacinto River, along with the Nueces and Lower Galveston Bay, was just accepted into the NOAA Blue Topo and nautical charts that they have been working on. So we do take this data and submit it to NOAA so that they can have it as well and integrate it into their systems. We do plan to continue doing bathymetry data in the future. We are continuing to kind of focus on the coast, but I think in this next year or two we will be pursuing some riverine acquisitions as well, some acoustic riverine acquisitions. Unfortunately, bathy LiDAR is not really possible in the state due to the water conditions, but we would like to start seeing some more riverine data to fill in some of the gaps that we have in the state. Here's that Matagorda Bay and Trinity Bay collection that'll be coming available. There's a little preliminary DEM that was developed for the Matagorda Bay. Another initiative that we're really excited to potentially get underway this next biennium is elevation-derived hydrography. This is something that we've been trying to get going for a number of years. We have high hopes for this next year. We think that this is a very high value data set for the state of Texas, especially when you look at what the NHD is compared to some of the sample EDH that we have here on the screen. You can see the red is the NHD plus, which was the previous highest quality hydrography data set. And then we did a pilot out in West Texas to kind of show what the difference was, and it is substantial. So not only is it more spatially accurate, but it's also the quality and the resolution of the data is substantially higher as well. And so we did apply for a elevation-derived hydrography grant to the USGS this past year. Unfortunately, we haven't heard anything back, but I'm not too surprised about that. But hopefully by the end of the year, maybe early next year, at the next kickoff meeting, hopefully we'll have some good news to share on that. So we also continually collect land parcel and address point data for the entire state of Texas. This was a process that we began in 2017. We went out primarily with the GIS Solutions Group to try and develop schemas for the state of Texas and address points and parcel data sets. And in 2019, we were able to go out and collect our first data set for the state. And since then, we have consistently been putting out statewide data sets each year, except for 2020. So here are our schemas. These schemas are available at geographic.texas.gov, which is our website. So if you want to download these or check them out, they are fully available there. Just to give you an idea of our progress over the last 6 years. So in 2019, we did pretty good. 2021 was not as good, but since then we have consistently improved the data set. Unfortunately, there is one county we cannot get parcels for. Now, fortunately, it's not because they don't want to give them to us. It's because they don't exist digitally. They are still on paper maps. So, that's something we've been looking into, like potentially maybe there's something we can do to help Donley County. But we're optimistic that one day we will get full statewide collection. The 2025 parcels are available on our data hub, and we were able to collect over 14 million parcels this past year. And those are available as WMS or geodatabase and shapefiles. Address points are very similar. We've been pretty consistent with the address points. We've had a pretty good buy-in over the years, and accessibility to those address points has been pretty good. There are, as you can see the last 2 years, some holdouts. Those would be Henderson and Howard County that we, for our best efforts, cannot get data for, unfortunately. We did get over 11,500,000 points this past year, which was an increase from our previous year. And those are, of course, available in geodatabase and as a WMS service as well, free to use for the public. To give you an idea of where things kind of changed across the state, so we did have some changes in address point density. We did see some improved address point increases in the urban areas like we would expect, and then we did see some decreases across the state as well. Not sure exactly what the reason for those were. Maybe they just weren't submitted. Maybe it was a refinement from previous years, but we did submit them to the NAD this past year, and we are happy to say we got a 98.8% acceptance rate. So we were very proud of that, and really happy to see that the schema that we've been ingesting these data sets into has been working really well and translates really well into the National Address Database. We are happy to announce that there will be a new data set from the StratMap team in cooperation with the Texas Comptroller. we will be bringing you city boundaries soon.
So,
Yes, yeah. So we started working with the Comptroller of Public Accounts over the past year to try and work out a agreement with them to get to serve these data sets to the state. So these are collected based on taxing jurisdiction. So there is incentive from the municipalities to submit updates and those sorts of things because it is tied to their taxation and the funds they get from the state. Some of the initial at the moment, the preliminary schema would have city names, unique identifiers, population, and then it will also have a last edited. So if you check a city boundary and you see that it was, modified in March of 2024, you know that there was an addition at that point. They do update this data set quarterly every year, so we'll be updating it 4 times a year. We are hopeful that maybe by the end of the year, maybe early next year, we'll be able to publish this through our data hub and make it available as a service. Yes.
Will that include ETJs, extraterritorial jurisdictions?
No. It's only the taxed areas of the municipality, from what I understand. And of course, we'll be looking for feedback as well. If there are additional, attribution or things that you would like to see put into this data set, reach out to us and let us know. We are looking for feedback on this data set. And of course, we have our Research and Distribution Center, which houses our historic archive. And after almost 2 years of work, big thanks to Surdex for their partnership on this. We are getting very close to our 100,000 georeferenced frame goal. And about 94% of those frames are available on our data warehouse, which is accessible through our data hub for the historical collections. And so our next steps with that is to turn those into mosaics and make those available as well as single downloads. So we'll be in the future doing some mosaicing. We'll also look at continuing the georeference to continue. We have a lot more than 100,000 frames, so we'll be continuing to hack away at the georeferencing of those historic frames over the coming years. Additionally, we will be working on integrating some U.S. Army Corps of Engineer, really unique collections that they gave us predominantly from the 60s, 70s of the coastal areas of Texas. We'll be working to get those available, and then as well as some parks and wildlife imagery as well. And I think that's it for me. So if you have any questions, let me know. This is the StratMap team. Lauren Kirk is our imagery specialist. Ellen St. Romain is our elevation specialist. Clayton Rainier works on our bathymetry projects. Aaron and Maria work in our RDC and our GIS specialists for customer outreach, custom map creation, and information regarding our historic archive. And then Sean Salisbury is our data coordinator as well, who works on land parcels, address points, city boundaries, and those sorts of things. So if you ever have any questions, please reach out to us. We're here to help. We're here to try to get you the data you need or answer any questions you might have about it. So if anybody has any questions, yeah.
Hi, so I work with y'all's parcel data every day, and I haven't seen where you have a service that gets updated. So like if I build an app in 2025, I connect to the most recent data that year, but then it doesn't continue to get updated.
They are different services. So we have, each year gets its own service.
So can you change that to where there is one that's updated every year?
Probably not. There will be, each year will have its own service because we maintain that data set throughout the years.
we maintain
and I
the
see
history.
value in
Yeah,
that.
for comparative reasons, we try to keep a history going.
Yeah, I definitely see the value in that, but just having one that does get updated, I mean, that's the beauty
I
of a
see.
service, is that you continue to get those updates.
Yeah. So basically, I'm going to look for Chelsea here, but we could probably do Chelsea. We could probably create a service that's just a master service that's always updated, but then keep the names. Does that sound right? Yeah.
Thank you
More
so much.
services.
So,
I have a question back here. I'm really interested in the elevation-derived hydrography that you guys are maybe going to get started on. My question was, would that be contributing to the USGS like updated or modernized 3D HP program that's going to be replacing the NHD?
Yes.
Cool.
So
Awesome.
we're working initially with the USGS. So we did put in a grant for EDH development through the 3DHP program. For the last, we did a couple of 3DEP LiDAR projects with them in 2023. And so it would be for those portions that we're pursuing, basically that are already in 3DEP. Now, getting our LiDAR data that's not part of the 3DEP programs into the USGS contributed data sets for integration into 3DEP is one step that we'll be really working on in the future, because you can't get 3D HP data unless the elevation data is in 3DEP. And so that's something we're trying to find solutions for, because historically that has been an issue because we don't have the same tiling scheme and exactly the same, I guess, data standards in other areas that they have. So we did do a 3DEP grant to potentially ask the USGS if on this most recent LiDAR acquisition, we would give it to them immediately after we got it, basically. And we did a 3DEP grant for them to pay for that transition phase to retile it, reproject it, and do all those things for it. So we're hopeful we have a path towards pursuing 3D HP for the state, but only time's going to tell at the moment.
It's awesome to see the city limit boundaries statewide coming. Are there any plans to do something like that for road center lines or other common data sets where municipalities or counties can start aggregating more and more state data?
At the moment, I would say no. At least for our, what we do, we don't necessarily have a mandate to request those things from the locals. It's mostly just, will you give it to us? And we've kind of completely stepped away from a lot of the road network stuff, and just TxDOT is the one who is managing those things. Whether or not they have local networks like that, I don't know. Chris,
Okay, I'm just thinking of, we've had the data hub's been around for a long time. It's a great resource, but having it kind of be the one-stop shop in Texas for just common base map data.
Unfortunately, we can't hold everybody's data. Texas is huge, and so if we were to hold like all of TxDOT's, all of Parks and Wildlife, all of that, it would be a massive endeavor, and we would have a huge cloud bill and all that kind of stuff. So we aren't equipped to do that. Plus, a lot of those agencies have their own geospatial data hubs that are available. So a lot of times we have on our data hub resources that point you to those. So you could go and, like, if you look up like ecoregions or something like that, it'll point you to the Parks and Wildlife data hub where you can go and grab that data.
Okay, because I was just with the flooding in Kerrville, it was kind of surprising that still in this day and age, it was a bit of a challenge to locate data outside of, like, the city of Kerrville has a bunch of data for things, but Kerr County doesn't have as much. And okay, now where do we go to get that information, and trying to hunt all that down? Whereas knowing, oh, well, we just need to go to this one place or the few agencies to find that would be helpful.
Yeah.
It's a good request. Thank you.
I work for TxDOT. We have a roadway network, so we have an open data portal. So if you're looking for roadway center lines or road beds, you can go look. It's called TxDOT Roadways. We're mostly focused on our on-system roads that are owned and operated by TxDOT. but by federal law, we have to include every open to public travel road. So I'm curious about, so if you just need that data set, you can go look there to find that. We do have a program where we interface with the counties because that's required by Texas law that we do that. So our county road inventory tends to be better than cities. We do not have any official program or relationship with the individual cities. So when you start really digging around at, the city streets in our data set, it's kind of the lowest priority. We only have to, the only requirement is that they're there. But that doesn't mean they're always correct or, that there aren't missing roads. So we're always trying to add to that. But just on a fundamental basis, if you need roadways, you can come to our open data portal and find that. But I was curious, have you used that data set, or are you finding that it's not up to date enough for your users? We don't have low water crossings in our data set, but
Yeah, we have a very old low water crossing data set.
well, just a little plug. If you've ever used our statewide planning map, or if you just Google statewide planning map for TxDOT, if you go up into the contact us or help section, we added a new feature to the map that if there's something wrong, if you see like a missing road or something like that, you can plop a little point down on the map and it notifies our GIS analysts. So cool little feature.
Good morning. My name is Monica Cruz. I'm with the Texas Demographic Center, and we work very closely with our partners at Texas Geo. So I just want to thank y'all again for being such important partners. As you know, with the Texas Demographic Center, we're always, we monitor and we produce population estimates and population projections for the state of Texas. So when we've gone and worked closely, certainly with municipalities, what's been a real critical ask is good boundary data. As you know, or may know, the state of Texas is, now allowed municipalities that were once annexed now to possibly be de-annexed or request to be de-annexed. And so that really is critical, important data to make sure that we're tracking city boundaries, municipal boundaries, because it's down to, it affects population of municipalities. So we're super excited to be, working with our partners at Texas Geo on that. And the other thing I just want to say that I know also we're going to be working with statewide partners on is already preparing for the 2030 census. So between 2010 and 2020, Texas ranked first in the country on numeric growth, adding almost 4 million people to the population. Yet we also know that, and after the 2020 census, and y'all remember 2020 census was a little complicated. Official census date is April 1st of 2020, and like a few weeks prior to that, there was some chaos happening. So it did, affect census operations, but after the 2020 census, the Census Bureau conducted a post-enumeration survey and determined that at least 6 states in the U.S. were undercounted, and Texas was one of them. Even though we ranked number 1, they also said, we think we undercounted you all about 500,000 people, and we think that's probably on the conservative side. So what's really, really critical as we look, and any time we have underpopulation or, missing population, that it does affect funding to local municipalities in the state overall. So we want to do better in 2030. And a real critical piece of that, pre-census operation that's critical, is called LUCA, a local update of census addresses. And so we're going to be working very closely with statewide partners to make sure that what the Census Bureau uses are addresses, residential addresses, right, to do and conduct census operations. And Texas didn't do a really good job preparing for 2020. We want to do better for 2030 to make sure that the Census Bureau has the most up-to-date addresses. That operation happens between 2020 and 2027 and has to be submitted to the Census Bureau in the spring of 2028 so that they make sure those addresses are in their master address files. So that's super critical, and that's one thing. I mean, we're just planting that seed called LUCA, Local Update of Census Addresses. So wherever you're at, in whatever municipality or governmental entity, please know that that's a critical piece, and that data has to be submitted by the highest elected official in a county or municipality. But reach out to Texas Geo. We're going to work with them. The Texas Demographic Center is who we are. We'll be, doing that work in the next year or so. So I just wanted to say that. We have our conference on May 20th to the 21st here in Austin. So anyways.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And yeah, we actually put a resource for Luca on our team. Sean Salisbury and myself will be kind of taking the lead on that. So we're very excited about making sure that doesn't happen again, and we'll do what our part is. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Before we continue on, there is a little bit more we want to go over, and then we'll open it up to questions. But there's some key things here where I do want to talk about state initiatives now that we have planned or that we're going to be working on. This should go by pretty quick. Is Brent Porter in the room? Because I'm just going to cut him at the knees right now. If he's going to ask me about county boundaries one more year, I'm going to lose it. So I just figured I'll be ready for him. And of course, he's not here, so that's okay. So we are now taking an initiative to understand the county boundaries of the state of Texas and their accuracy and the issues that we have with that. So we are going to funnel some funds on doing an assessment of the county boundaries, which means we're going to talk to all 254 counties, and we're going to identify the issues, and we're going to generate a report on what the issues are, what each county does as it relates to what boundary are they using and how do they handle disputes. And that report's going to help us identify what do we need to do as a state to improve on this, and what are we getting ourselves into if we decide to move boundaries around and that kind of thing. So I talked to already many of you at the counties, and what I was learning, at least from the few that I talked to, is this may not be as difficult as we think. And at least that's what I'm hoping. And I do expect there to be some issues, but others, I think it sounds like that they are really open to us understanding the issues. And so we're going to get into that. So I'm excited to announce that we will be doing that. And hopefully at this meeting next year, we will lay out a full-on plan and have the report released as well. Yes. Go ahead. Yes, Courtney. Yeah. No, you're not loud enough. Sorry.
I would hope that for the future, right, past this initial, that maybe there's also a survey grade boundary that we know very well will include slivers, gaps with adjoining boundaries, because it's not the accepted surveyed boundary, right? That's approved by the county surveyor.
Yep.
So it would be nice to have that as like an established data set as well for when we actually need the survey grade boundary.
Right.
So that's a future thing, because this initial topologically correct data set is what we need, as our entities. But it would be nice to also have that level.
Yeah, and I think again, as a group, we'll define then what we need to do once we understand what we have in front of us. And so, yes, that will definitely come out in future community meetings and solution group conversations, and then we'll decide how we manage this.
I was just wondering if the General Land Office is going to be looped into that, because
No,
obviously
because we don't know.
we're pretty aware, since we work on the land grid, we're aware of like the issues throughout the state, but also we're going to have a lot of fallout once that is determined.
Absolutely, and the answer is absolutely. We don't plan to do any of this in a vacuum. We it's kind of like we don't really even quite know what we're getting into. Hence the needs, kind of the assessment we're trying to do. Is Scott still here?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Security hasn't come by yet to kick me out. This will help folks stop asking the land office if we have the county boundaries.
Yes. Yes, since we've been.
Kelsey, are you the one we work with at GLO? Oh, okay. You're our POC. I know.
Okay.
I know. We can't find Scott.
Yeah, no, it's. I think it's just so long overdue, and for nothing else, we should just understand the condition. So, more to come. So I'm excited about that. GIO report is going well. We've got a lot of information we've collected. I'm going to do it a little bit differently this year. I keep changing my mind on how I'm going to do this, but I think what I've decided to do now is write up what I think is the case for specific agencies and what their responsibilities are, to give a starting point to the agencies when I meet with y'all. So the idea here was I was just going to send out a survey or call you up and just ask questions and see what I have. But instead of that, we've got a couple of, we have 2 reports behind us. We've talked to the solution group. We kind of have an idea. So I'm going to start the process by drafting up what I know, and have you guys then look at it and revise it and change it and make it better, so that it's correct and accurate across the way. So I've already started the process of developing the individual reports for the active GIS agencies in Texas, and then I'll be getting with you guys independently to just say, okay, please look this over and make sure I'm accurate in my statements, and add what you think needs to be added, so that if the governor should see this, that they will get a true representation of your needs, and also what you guys do, because we don't want to leave any of that out. So more to come on that. As soon as this forum is over, we're going to be working almost exclusively on the GIO report, which is due December 1st of 2026. So we got just a hair over a year, but we're going to need every bit of that. So definitely more to come, but we're starting to make some progress there. This is a new one that I've been learning from NISJIC, and it's something that I feel like I've dropped the ball on this, and that is tribal coordination, tribal lands. The real truth is that Texas doesn't have as many as, let's say, Arizona or New Mexico, and but we do have some, and they're not included in anything that we do. I don't talk about them. I don't ask what they need. We have if you Google it, it's anywhere between 5 tribal entities to 21, so it's almost like you can't really even get the right number. So I'm real green at tribal, but I've got a lot of expertise at NISJIC that I'm going to lean on to try to help me do better at starting to understand how we can support the tribal lands and from the GIS coordination side. So this is brand spanking new. I don't know what I'm doing on this, but we're going to figure it out. And if anybody has a really good understanding of tribal, I would love to talk to you, and maybe you can get me started in the right direction. But I think that's something we definitely want to do. Yes, Chris. You need a mic. Sorry, they're recording, so we have to have a mic.
I just want to say I second that. I'm glad you're doing that. I was surprised. We have a base map in our maps that includes some tribal lands, but not all of them.
Right.
And internally, when I tried to get, or externally anywhere, I was really surprised. I could not find, even in the federal government or Esri data, I couldn't really find an authoritative data set of the 5 or whatever,
That's right.
properties, tribal lands boundaries. And so that would be great if we could get that. Plus, all the other stuff that goes along with it.
Absolutely. I don't know how hard or easy this is going to be. It's just something I don't really understand, but we do have some resources we'll lean on for that. So again, stay tuned. This is another NISJIC one that came up, but mapping the trails of Texas, right? If you go to like OpenStreetMap or any other, Texas is blank when it comes to the trails. The only thing that's there is what Parks and Wildlife has developed for their trails, and they've done a great job, but it's only their lands. I have been trying to even just find, understand the definition of trails, to be real honest with you. And so just recently at the last meeting or so at NISJIC has this become kind of a real thing, and I'm trying to get my arms around it. So we are going to look into what it's going to take to map the trails of Texas. And so again, you folks that are out there, if you know about this or understand or have ideas, I would love to talk to you. Again, this isn't anything I'm strong at, and again, I have resources, but it's just something we're going to start looking into, and maybe we'll have a better idea in the future. Chris.
Sorry, it's me again.
Yeah, no, it's good.
I guess we need to talk more. I don't know.
That's right.
I would look at OpenStreetMap. I mean, I know that they have some trails. I've done some of that work in OpenStreetMap myself. They also have this product that TxDOT worked with them on. Actually, we presented on it here like 5 years ago. It's called Map Roulette. And so that whole initiative is to focus on one particular data set and drive people to locations where they think there might be a thing. In our case, we did cemeteries. Like we had cemetery points from the Texas Historical Commission, but we wanted polygons. So the Map Roulette would like zoom you to the point, and then the OpenStreetMap contributor would digitize the polygon and then move to the next one.
Yeah.
So there might be an opportunity with them, because people get really excited about, especially something like trails.
Right.
The outdoor enthusiasts are really into
Exactly.
that. I mean, I could see an effort in coordination with OpenStreetMap that you could knock that out.
And we've had
pretty
those conversations with OpenStreetMap already. So
Good.
yeah, through NISJIC we have. And
Good.
so that partnership is being formed.
Yeah, because I think especially that point about, when people are passionate about something, especially in their local community, they'll go out and do just like tons of work, for free. So
Right.
it's a great resource.
Yep. Thank you. There's a question back there too. Hang on, wait for the mic, because we are recording this and we won't hear you in the recording.
Just a comment on the trails. Colorado has a really great app called Cotrex that kind of provide a nice framework for that. And then also All Trails has trails mapped out all across the country, so they could be a good resource to steal data from.
Absolutely. And I think those will be resources we'll definitely try to use, but also at the same time, we want to make sure they're GIS compatible and ready and all the things that we need to do to share the information around. So appreciate that. But yes, those are on the list to consult as well. I put GIO report twice because I just really want to stress how important it is. No, I moved it down and forgot to take it off the top. I did this at 5 this morning, so I said it was unrehearsed, right? Okay, the big one I want to talk about is the indoor mapping school safety report that we've been really struggling to get off the ground because it's an internal initiative that we feel is important. Nobody's telling us to do it, but if we don't do it, we have a feeling that a process will be adopted by the ledge that is not best practices and will not really support what I think needs to happen. So we're trying to get ahead of this thing. I have some slides I did want to go through, but so just for people who don't know what this is a mechanism that I have been working with Dallas College, Scott Sayers, ACC, and many other public and private folks to say, let's develop an infrastructure for school safety. But what we want to do is, instead of having a contractor come in and says, hey, I will do all your schools for this dollar amount, and you just pay me this dollar amount every couple of years and I'll come in and do all the schools and hey, everything's great and we'll give you PDF files. What we really want to do is say high school students are extremely smart in this technology. Why not leverage them as the way to keep the schools safe? Let them map their own schools as a part of the initiative for school safety, right? I mean, if they can build cars, if they can build drones and fly them and win robotics competitions, the number one drone champion in the world is a high school senior. There's no reason they can't be taught to map their own schools through a geography program or a computer science program within their school, right? And I've been talking to Casey. She was one of the first people I talked to, because what we want to do is do a pilot from the smallest schools to the largest schools and find that baseline that all of them have to meet, right? And so we've talked to pretty much everyone in public safety, colleges who have already developed curriculums that work for people coming in. We've identified resources and agencies and companies that said we will hire high school kids as interns if they go through the program. They come out, they get dual credit in high school and go right into our industry that we are building and supporting through teaching them how to do the basic stuff, right? And so as we were going through this process, one thing we had to figure out was, is it really doable? I mean, on the surface, it seems right, but we wanted to run a process through. So we decided to spend, I don't remember, Gayla, it was $100,000 or so in credits for Esri to map our building as if it were a school, and how would we do it, and what does it really take with today's technology. And we're learning that every year it just gets a little bit better and a little bit easier. So I think we're on the right track, and I just kind of want to show you the results of this. So in the school safety initiative, it's all about mapping the school, putting the infrastructure up where law enforcement can get to it, and it's the same across the entire state of Texas. There's not, the fields are the same, the way you access it's the exact same, and it isn't different for every law enforcement agency. They'll know what they're getting into, even if they change jobs and go to different towns or cities. So everybody knows that you can take your phone and you can kind of, use your 3D LiDAR and map your room, with this little LiDAR sensor on the back of the phone, and do some kind of funny warpy stuff with it. And it's kind of cool. But this is kind of an idea that I truly believe is something that kids can use, maybe something a little more advanced than your phone, but probably not for too much longer. Here's an example of what a traditional LiDAR flight would be. If you fly LiDAR and you try to drape over the imagery on top, you kind of get this melty building sort of thing. If you're up a couple of thousand feet, this looks really, really good. But when you come down and you really need to get information about a school building, windows and columns and all the kinds of things that go, this may not be your best bet. So what could you do? When you look at a traditional LiDAR capture from an aircraft, windows aren't understood. Again, you just don't get a look that I think is doable. But if you fly a $200 drone that has video capture one time around it, you get this. $200 drone, and this is legit. This is a toy drone, not an official drone. Would actually, with a photometric free piece of software that's in the public domain, you can create something that looks like this, where it understands windows, it understands reflection. And then if you have LiDAR that you did fly, which we do, you can tie it down, and you can get a perfect three-dimensional model of the outside of the building with a 30-minute process of just flying a drone around the school. Okay, so that's a comparison, just so you can kind of see the difference between the two. And now, handhelds, right? These handhelds can just basically be carried around. It's not a big old backpack. It sits in your hand, and by simply walking the perimeter of your building, you can get some amazing things. You can see the handheld there on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side is what was being generated in blue just from walking around. The green line is the actual line path that the gentleman walked, right? Here's a little close-up of that too. All the red points, if I'm not mistaken, are the areas where they captured photos. Anybody know that? Yeah. It's where the photos were taken. So the thing would take photos every so often too. So that's how you married it together. This is the gentleman that did it. This was only done, 2 months ago, if that. Start of football season, I remember. This gentleman is the one that kind of taught us. He's from Map-It. He was a contractor that John Doherty set us up with Esri, and did an amazing job. And we were all amazed about what he was doing. And this is an example of walking around. That's not a photograph. That's the actual point cloud with the intensity actually burned into it from the photograph, so it looks almost like a real picture. I'll give you a couple other examples. Here's what I think is really cool. That looks like it's about 10 feet off the ground, even though the gentleman was down. This thing could see up the walls. So it could create an extremely valuable model just by being on the ground and shoot 40 feet in the air and capture the sides as you see here. Okay, and then with some processing, it creates a dim model basically, and captures the building in its true form, exactly what you would want for something like school safety. Here's another example of the floor plan. We did it inside as well. Some external shots, some internal shots, and then once you kind of get all that processed, you can get that from it. Okay, so all of a sudden you can map the inside of your building. You can get the floor plan, you can get the desks and their locations, and this becomes an extremely useful and valuable tool. Here's another example of the internals of it as a planar view. But the gentleman did this in a weekend, 3 floors of our building, and came up with this. And what we're looking for is getting the process down and understanding how we can adjust that process and make it usable for a student to be able to learn to do this exact thing. So it's super fascinating. Look, the thickness of the walls are there. Maps in the doors. Now, I'm saying this as if this just magically happened. There's clearly a process behind this that we haven't gotten yet. But we're going to get it, and we're going to have an idea of how complex it might have been. So with that, I am happy to say that once this information comes to us, we will be compiling that report. That report, we hope, will go to the the Texas Education Agency. Is anybody here from TEA? So the idea would be is to provide it to them as an option and an idea to make school safety affordable and actually sustainable with using students. High school students do their school, and then once the school is done, the new high school students that are just coming in will do the middle schools that feed that high school, and then when those middle schools are done, they'll go on to the elementary schools that feed the middle schools that feed the high school, and then you start all over by just continually updating the information. So you don't have to redo this every time, you just now do updates to it. So that's the concept and the idea. We do believe we'll have many individuals who would say, we would support this. Let's just say, Dell, proud supporter of School Safety Initiative, we could make a whole nonprofit out of it and have people want to be a part of the program, donate their technology for the sake of the kids in the schools and that kind of thing. And I think we're well on our way to do that. So we're going to spell all that out, provide it to TEA, and then we're hoping they will buy into it, and then they will take it to the ledge and go forward, because at that point I'm out of my lane, and that becomes something. I'm now stepping on people's toes if they don't adopt it. So anyway, that's what I wanted to report. I wanted to thank Casey for helping me just inspire this idea. I need to thank Thomas Brown, HDR, back there for helping me generate this report. HDR has been amazing. The Fugro people. Is Fugro still here? They're Courtney, Keith, who's the one who flew the LiDAR for us to identify what LiDAR could actually do. at a super reduced rate. Thank you for letting us doing that for us. And with all that information we've got, I think we're able to compile what reality is here. So that's all I have to say. And now we're just going to go into open discussion. So. Oh, Jackie. Yes.
Okay, y'all said open discussion, and I said, wait a minute, I got a presentation.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, 5 minutes. Okay. Hi, good morning. Thanks for sticking with me. My computer just died. Wait, let's see. My computer's from 2011.
Does anyone else have a question while we're waiting for Jackie to get set up? Yeah, I'll come back there. Or comment, or something you learned, or something you want to share.
So the last picture that you showed about the building with the walls, I found it very interesting. And my question is, so if somebody takes a survey like that with a handheld, does it need to be signed by a registered professional land surveyor for like general site design work, or is there a possibility where cities or other agencies can not require a land surveyor stamp on stuff, because you can see it's fairly accurate. So what are like barriers to like deregulating some of this stuff and just allowing your average high school student to be able to create floor plans, basically?
So here's my thought on that. The idea is, I don't know the answer to that question, but what I think is going to happen is if we can get legislative support, even if the rule is you have to get a surveyor or whatever, my feeling is we can negotiate what that looks like. Because what we don't want is the process to be hindered, but we do want to do it correctly. And so I don't have the true answer to will you need surveyor approval or whatever that might look like. I haven't even gotten to that part in my head yet to identify what that would look like. So I would need to do that. But the idea is I just hope we can make it happen any way we need to do that, and it would not hinder the whole process and be just red tape, if you know what I'm saying. So I don't know is my answer to your question. We would have to check into it.
Thank you.
So thank you. All right, Jackie.
Okay, hi, good morning, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Jackie Hinscher. I work with the City of Austin. And if anyone made it to the Mappy Hour last night, I just wanted to give a shout out to our appreciation for planning. It may not seem like much, but it does take time and effort, and these individuals are doing it outside of their daily lives. So thank you, Eli, Annalie, Hannah, Janie, and Courtney. So along those lines, I'm here to talk about Syntex Geospatial. This was a community that has been off and on, a GIS community here off and on over the last, I think it was 03, so what year is it, 20 years? So over the last year, Richard and I and some others have been approached by members of the community, and we really believe there's a need and a hunger to bring it back again. Some of us met in October and got some initial feedback from some of you were there, so thank you for that. For those who couldn't attend, though, I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk a little bit about it and get your input. So first of all, in 2017, Syntex was kicking, and they came up with a mission and goal, and so we still believe these are true today. And what we're really hoping to do, at least Richard and I and some others have talked about, is expanding it and making it a little more easy and accessible. And we don't want to overlap with SCOG or GPN or SWIGIS. We want to make sure maybe Syntex is the centralized place to highlight all of those activities and make it easy for you to find. We don't know, right? So, but I just wanted to share this with you and then show a little bit about the history. So 03 to 05, there was the beginning. 07, 09, there was a resurgence. Again, we had to like bring it back up in 2015 to 2017, and then with some things that occurred in the last 5 years. We died off again. So here we are now. And we're facing a lot of new challenges, as you've been discussing and as we've all been discussing. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to see what does the community want, especially if you're someone coming into it or considering changing or whatever. There's such a breadth of experience here, whether in work or life or whatever, that I know we all are, those of us who do know each other, are appreciative to have each other. And so we want to make sure we're reaching everyone. So what we want to know is, like, what is the value that Syntax could provide you? Like, what would set this group apart? What gaps are you seeing in your career, in your life, in your whatever? And it's basically, how can Syntax help you? Richard said something more eloquent than this at one point to me, which was, Syntax will give back whatever you put in, right? Or it can, right? However we formulate this. So if you will join me for a moment, please. Can you scan this? We're going to do a live, like, thought session, and let's see if this works. Somebody can give me a thumbs up that it's working. I'm going to switch screens. Okay. All right, everybody, most people are pretty good. Okay. I'm new to Menti, so apparently this is supposed to work this way. Oh, wait, I don't want to share. I want to present. Okay, so yeah, if you want to put in here in one word, what do you think an ideal, like, Syntax get-together meeting could provide to you? And thank you all for doing this. Look at it go. This is fun. All right, anyone else still typing? Okay, I'm going to pop to the next one.
Did somebody put beer?
I know when we got together in October, there was a lot of beer up there. All right, so if you can, I don't know if you get to go on your phone by yourself. I'm sorry, I'm new to this. I didn't do user testing. Please rank these types of formats to your preference. I think it's social hours, networking, guest speaking, maybe some business cases, and other things. So are y'all seeing? Okay, cool. We're getting some feedback. As you're thinking, I hope I'm not too distracting, but we also discussed, as those of us who've been around a little while, learning from those of you who are new, because I don't want to end up like my elders who can't use technology. I need your help. I don't want to be like Richard. I'm just kidding.
You were looking at me when you said that.
Okay, I'm going to cruise through, see what the next question is. What would be the main reason you might attend a Syntax event? So similar to question 1, but worded a little differently. And I think this is another word cloud.
There's the beer.
That was all Thomas, I bet. Okay, I'm going to scoot to the next one. And then if you have ideas of what types of activities, I'm going to QR code you a little bit to death. I'm sorry about this.
Let's just do it for them.
I know. Fun side note, Richard and I are both Czech, and we are the most per capita beer consumption nation. I don't know what we are, nationality, ethnicity. Oh, tequila tasting. That's different than beer. All right.
So we're not going to learn anything. We're just going to drink.
Okay, and then what types of meetings, in person, virtually, both? Neither. I don't know if I put neither on there. Leave me alone. Okay, and then frequency. Monthly.
Beer.
Beer. We can't read it over here. That's true. Yeah, good point. Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, right? Any topics? Again, I think this is another word cloud. I think this is the last one. Ooh, AI tequila.
Beer geography.
You notice no one put mezcal.
Yeah.
Legislation.
Mhm. I thought that said wildflowers. It was workflows. I was like, wildflowers? No, I know. Well, I don't have my glasses on either, so I can't read any of this. Yes.
Oh, okay, that's the end of that. So thank you. If you're still going, please continue. I'm just trying to keep this as quick as possible. A few other things, though, I wanted to mention. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. Is then also, so now here comes the other QR codes. So this is a separate form. If you are interested in participating in determining the future of Syntax, please, you can say, I just want to attend. You can say, I want to help with logistics of events. I think the categories I put were, I want to help with topics for events, or I want to help kind of with tech, right? I have an idea, I want to reframe LinkedIn presence, or if somebody has another idea. Oh, what? Okay, we'll move on. There's another way you can find me. So I can send that out as well. Okay. That's frustrating. Sorry about that. Okay, so that's expired. But I'll post that, or you can email us. I'll put an email at the end that you can take a snapshot of and send me questions about, and then I'll just bother you from that avenue. Okay, so a few plugs though, at least for now, even if we don't know exactly the goal of Syntax or the activities. Here are some upcoming events. So Austin Community College on December 10th is having their capstone showcase. And I think it's okay. I don't know if anyone from ACC could speak to that, but I think talking to Stephanie, they are not opposed to having members of the community there as professionals to see what the students have worked on and provide feedback or mentorship or connection, right? We've been talking about Syntax used to throw something called a GeoBash. It was a holiday party, so if we can figure that out in the next few weeks, you might see something related to that coming. January 26th is a youth career fest that we are pulling together. We'd like to, actually Syntax has said yes, we'll be there. So if your business wants to participate in this, I think there's plenty of room. It's going to be at Palmer Event Center. You can bring in drones, you can bring in cars, you can bring in whatever. So I'll have some contact for that in a minute. And then in February, we'll do a virtual career Cupid so that, you can find some mentorship virtually. A little like kind of speed dating, but from a career standpoint. Along these lines with the youth program, Jan Fung coined the phrase Geospatial Advisory Council for Kids. I thought she had already formed it, and then, but I think it's delightful, and that if anyone wants to help like with this, that's something Syntax can maybe form or start the wheels on. This though is a QR code to the upcoming youth website. I believe the youth, this one. Sorry, I was putting this together while y'all were talking. So for the January 26th, what is it called again? Youth Career Fest. So if you want to participate in that, there's a QR here to scan for that. And like we'll put these out on LinkedIn through the different channels that are out there. And here is if you're interested in participating in Career Cupid, you can snap this one. These were also on the board outside. And then I do have a Syntax LinkedIn, but I'm gonna skip this and I'm gonna say, why don't you just take a snapshot of this? And if you wanna contact us, please email these emails and we can route things to each other and get you involved in some way. And that's about it.
Perfect. And any business out there or, any business out there that wants to help contribute maybe to helping us put this on, maybe a little bit of funding or whatever, we would love to make this something that people would want to come to at a really nice place that they can enjoy and so forth. So we're looking for maybe sponsors of the event. And if you think you could, it won't be a lot, but if you think you could, we would love to put you on the list as well. So anyway, let us know. But Jackie, thank you very much. That's excellent. Yes. All right.
Well, actually, it's going to be in regards to the school mapping. Just out of curiosity, were you going to look at the pilot, or was that going to be something TEA would do?
No, so we're going to be the ones to look at the pilot. We're going to draft up the documentation of what we feel is doable. So we want to provide the roadmap and maybe the architecture of it all, and basically hand them the plan. And then hopefully then we can work with them on that plan. If they see any issues with it or whatever, we can just move forward. So we don't want them to have to be the ones to go through and try to figure this stuff out. This is new to them. They don't understand this technology. But if we provide it to them, they get the idea, and we can say this was developed not by the TextGIO office or myself. It was developed by multiple agencies, by multiple universities, by law enforcement had a say in it, and it's all here, and there's no downside to this. Students win. We win as a state because we don't have to pay contractors who are just in it for the money. And they learn, they get educated. These students, I've learned in some cases, are super bored, and they're just looking for something to get excited about. And can you imagine them doing something that where they have their own safety and security in mind, and not only that, getting dual credit and maybe a career in the GIS field, and being right there as they come in and getting internships. I mean, this is not a losing thing here. We just have to agree to try to move forward with something that I think is tangible and has the best in mind for pretty much everybody involved. So we want to take on that heavy lift. We just want to hand it to them and see what they think about it, and then we'll help them go from there, if that's how it works.
Well, if it does go forward, I, as a parent and teacher's wife, would greatly appreciate it.
Excellent.
But I highly recommend you guys look at everybody. There's less than 100 kids in our school.
Right.
And we're extremely rural, where there's not a bunch for the sheriff's office to come. And so I know it'd be very, very beneficial for them, because there are 3 schools within our county. They are right along the same highway, but they're all really rural, really small. There's not going to be very fast response.
Sure.
God forbid that happens.
Yeah.
And so I highly recommend looking at the really small schools, and the Panhandle gets forgot quite a bit. So if that could also be added, and that'd be
well. Casey's
great.
right here. I don't know if Casey, do you want to say anything? Here, what microphone over here? One's coming, Casey. Casey's been helping me with this. They're in a very small district, very tiny school. So Casey, go ahead.
Hi there, I'm Casey Meritori. I'm 911 GIS coordinator with the Rio Grande Council of Governments. The school that we've brought on board for them to work with is in Terlingua. If anybody's familiar with Big Bend, we're talking tiny, tiny, tiny school, 0 funding. They've actually already been approached by a private vendor. It would have been 7% of their annual budget, which seems like a small number until you have only 30 students. So this has been just completely mind-blowing to be a part of even the conversation, and even to bring in, like you're saying, if you can't make it work in a tiny school, what are we doing? What's the purpose? And I think another aspect too is that from a GIS standpoint, in rural regions in the state, there is no GIS. That is not an industry. I know Annie and I here, we're the only GIS for 21,000 square miles. So to bring in a program like this, we would be home growing our own little GIS professionals that we can then bring in as interns, and maybe even go on to map county buildings and so on and so forth. So yeah, absolutely, the tiny schools are a huge part of the conversation. I think even more so than the
They
big
are.
ones.
They're the most important part, because we have to make sure we don't leave those schools out. And so what we derive here has to fit the tiny schools as well as the larger schools. Now, the larger schools can do other things on top of that, but we have to have a base so that all schools meet at least that base and move forward. And talk to John Dougherty on this, and Esri and whatever. And I believe this is near and dear to Jack's heart. Jack Dangermond, and I really believe that there could be some grants and so forth to the school, so the school doesn't have to pay the 7%. The school could get paid to get the information and do it and make it happen, and local universities would teach the teachers on how to teach the kids and that kind of stuff. So this isn't overnight. This isn't going to happen tomorrow. We probably need a pilot going on with a small school, medium school, large school, kind of running the pilot for a few years, see how it gains traction, and then start adding schools to it as we adjust. I mean, that's realistic, I think. But that's kind of how we're thinking this thing's going to pan out. But I understand what you're saying, and we definitely want to do that at little to no cost to the school district at all. So, anybody else? Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking over here.
Do you want me to speak? Okay, all right. Hey, everybody. My name is Courtney Rowe, and I'm a longtime advocate for networking and collaborating across our GIS community. I wanted to quickly tack on to Jackie Hincher's presentation. She put Texas GIS Day up there as that Gmail. I want everybody to know that if you're holding a GIS Day across Texas, please contact us to get your event posted on our Texas GIS Day website. It is for everybody to have kind of like a one-stop shop of GIS Day events, and a lot of them are being held with virtual so that you can join virtually. So they're going to be filming them live, posting them live. I know ATX GIS Day, we're doing ours fully virtual on Monday, November 17th this year. So join GIS days across the state. Listen in, get your finger on the pulse. It's definitely a great opportunity for us to collaborate across the industries. And if you haven't already been a part of GIS community in general, right? We have Syntex Geospatial coming back, supporting women in geography and GIS, which is SWIGIS or SWIGIS, however you want to affectionately say that one. Of course, you have GPN, the Geospatial Professional Network, which used to be ERISA, SCOG. There are many different opportunities for you to be connected in our GIS community. So definitely reach out to your peers and meet new people. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Courtney. That was awesome. I'm always promoting, get involved with your local GIS community. It's so incredibly important. Hello, everyone. My name is Pam Kirsch. I'm a solution engineer for Esri. And full disclosure, I am Scott's wife that Richard mentioned before. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of the vision behind the program that Scott and ACC and all these other amazing community colleges, higher ed, universities is there's these articulation programs where high school students can graduate high school with an associate degree, and then programs like Scott's at Dallas College, 100% of his program is accepted at universities like Texas A&M and all these other universities. And a real world example is his students. Employers will find out about these students, and then they will pay for the remainder of that 4-year university degree. So it is just this marvelous opportunity for students to be able to access higher education at no cost. And then they have these skills that are marketable and they're hireable out of high school. And there's such demand for this. So I'm hoping that with all of your efforts, thank you so much, because it's so important, and that TEA and some of these other organizations and institutions can see that vision, because we're the demand for these skills is going completely unfulfilled. I know at a lot of community colleges, they don't have enough interns to be able to provide for the demand that these corporations and institutions and local government, state government, federal government are asking for. And so it's just a great opportunity to help these students maybe get a free degree. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to add to that. Scott actually was working on this exact idea the same time we were, and we discovered it only after meeting with Esri, who linked us up, because when we told them the idea, they said, "Did you know Scott's working on the same idea?" And so we went and visited Scott, and this is where a lot of the stuff you're going to see in the report is coming out of Scott's head. And so we just agreed that, you know what, we're going to help push it forward at the state level. But he had an amazing idea. We happen to be on the same track, and so we're just kind of merging forces here on this. So really excited about that. Yes, Johan.
Jochen Flöser with Houston Galveston Area Council. I want to do a little advertisement for our own GIS event, but before I do so, I want to say congratulations to Richard and Gayla and the whole TextGeo team to pull off, stand up another fantastic event. It's only my third time, but it's getting better every time. Actually, I was kidding with Gayla yesterday about thinking about maybe a 5-year subscription plan for attendance, for at a reduced rate, coming up. So yeah, we Houston Galveston Area Council, we're having our own GIS Day coming up, an expo in 2 weeks. It's a 3-day event. Wednesday we have workshops hosted by Esri and Bad Elf, and then on Thursday is the professionals day with presentations and the expo, and on Friday is a student day, career advice, that sort of thing. So if you're in the Houston area, check us out. Go online and register for the event.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
Yep. I can definitely vouch for that event. I went last year and was blown away on how well attended and how it was so focused on students and kids, and I thought that was brilliant. So yes, I would highly recommend you go check out HGAC's event. John.
Hey everybody, John Doherty with Esri. Just a reminder that we give away the ArcGIS for Schools bundle. So that's software for K through 12 for projects. So school districts can request an ArcGIS for School bundle to support data collection projects, student mapping, and accounts are available to teachers and students. And you get, what do you get in here? It's changed a lot. So you get an advanced pro license, you get drone to map, you get City Engine, you get ArcGIS Urban, and then ArcGIS Online with all the applications that come with that.
Yep. Thank you, John. That's exact. Our hope is that that's what we can leverage. We have a few more minutes, or is everybody just burnt out? Okay.
Hey there, Casey again. Coming back to the trails conversation that you mentioned earlier, I've just drawn in everything in Big Bend National Park. And I might add, we've done it for 911 purposes, so that we can fully understand ingress to these campsites that are extremely remote, anyone that's been there. A step further is we're adding dispatchable locations to the campsites themselves. If you can even make a 911 call from the park, we want to make sure we know where to go. So
Absolutely.
I just wanted to kind of tack that on.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Anybody else? I know it's been a super long week, and I just appreciate y'all coming, but just leave the mic with Courtney. Courtney can be the mic runner.
I just want to say congratulations on yet another year of an amazing Texas GIS Forum.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thank you all. Yeah. It wouldn't be anything if y'all didn't attend and be here. So thank you so much. Okay, if there's nothing else, we're going to let you guys go. But before we
have a couple more slides.
Oh, we do. Oh, I'm sorry. Are these me? Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. Texas GIS community meeting. This is the last one for this year. We're going to pick back up in January 21st. All of these are going to be at the Barbara Jordan building, correct? Barbara Jordan building downtown in April 22nd, July 22nd, and October 23rd, which will be the forum event again. So please put that on your calendar. We'd love to have you come with your ideas. Again, it's one of these, but interactive. And of course, the forum is now back in October. Sorry for the little snafu in November, but it was good weather, so I can't complain too much. 10/19 through 10/23. So make your plans. And yes, QR code. Follow us on X at Geographic Texas, and of course our website. And join our mailing list. Use the QR code. And is there one other one? I Thank you. Let me go back to that. Gayla, any last thoughts?
No, just thank you. Thank you for coming.
And I want
We'll see you
to
next year.
one
and throughout
round
the
of
year.
applause for our panelists again, for Jonathan, Mark, and Shay for coming all this way. And by the way, there's no guarantee they're getting back if you heard what's happening at the airline, so they just may be stuck here. So they decided to come anyway and risk that. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this event, and it means the world to us that you came here. So I appreciate it. The rest of you guys, thank you for everything. Go have a great rest of your Friday, and we will see you next time.